Hey everybody, I'm back. Today what I'm going to do is go over a few things if you're buying a used dual sport or possibly even a dirt bike. Things to look for. You have to make a list before you go to someone's house to look at a dirt bike, because you will forget things to look at when you go. And the first point I want to make is, if you're looking on Facebook, Marketplace, Craigslist, whatever's in your local area, you're on your phone, your computer, when you pull the bike up, and if the people have several pictures, don't just look at the bike. Look in the background of the picture. I mean, is there a bunch of trash? Are there bikes torn apart in the background? Is the place dirty, filthy? Do they have a truck sitting there that's all ragged? Stuff like that. I know you should. I'm telling you to judge people, but the background of where a bike is sitting in a garage can tell a lot. When I look, I want to see a bike sitting in a garage with other clean ATVs around it. Clean garage, not junk piled all over the place. Not a dirty bike sitting there that's on the internet that says, "Oh, cleans up nicely." Even if they have the bike outside, summertime pictures, look in the background. Are the bushes well kept? Is the house well kept? All things like that. Is there junk sitting around outside the house? That will tell you a lot of how well the people take care of their bike. I mean, even when I take a picture of a bike, I make sure that the garage is clean, there's a nice picture of it. If I have it outside, the grass is mowed, that all makes a difference to me because I'm looking for that. And I have my little list, and I know even when I go over this with you guys and when I go to look at bike, there are always times I'll buy a bike, get it home, and I'll be like, oh shit, I forgot to look at this, and I will find something small, that it has an issue with. So I went over here. I'm looking at my list here, my cheat sheet too. Look at the background, the garage, anything laying behind it, the house if they have pictures outside. You want to do that. Then, if you message the person or call them before, so you don't waste everybody's time. Some guys put their bikes on when they're not paid off. They don't have the title. Some guys put them on when the title, oh, it's in the neighbor's name, I'll get him to sign it. Oh, we lost the title. Ask them, do you have the title, and is it in your name, in your hands? Can we go get it switched over if I want the bike? Okay, they say yes, you're good to go. Okay, another thing, before you go, you tell them on the phone or text them, say, listen, when I show up there in the morning, afternoon, I want the motor ice cold. When I touch it, I want it cold, because you don't want to have them have an issue with it starting, with the valves being not adjusted, or a problem with the carburetor, or some motor problem that when it's warmed up it starts fine. So you tell them, if I get there and the motor's warm, I'm not even going to look at it. So you tell them that, cold motor, so that you can get there, start that bike up with it cold, see how it runs, let it warm up. Either they take it for a ride or you take it for a ride. Shut it off when the bike is fully warm, and make sure it starts easy when it's warm. Because you don't want to take it for a ride and not thinking about it, say, oh, this bike is sweet, shut it off. Then you get it home, take it on a ride, you shut it off and go to get back on, and it's a bitch to start. You don't want that to happen. And then once you get there, of course, then you got to start looking at the bike. So, I'm going to grab the camera here, and I'm kind of go over some things on the bike, for you to look at and check out. All right, so I still got my cheat sheet here. Okay, one of the things I will do is you get on. One of the first things I will do, get on the bike, sit on it, and even you're always better to take somebody else with you too, so you have two people. Sit on the bike, get the bars straight. Make sure the front wheel, is sitting straight. Everything is good as that way. Real quick visual like that. Then, of course, walk around to the back and take a good look, at the back and make sure that the fender is not tweaked, or you see anything that's like tweaked or, you know, off kilter on that bike that looks like maybe the subframe, you know, is twisted or something like that. Okay, another thing. You see this bike, it is sitting on a jack stand. Take one of those, take a stand with you of some type in case the person does not have one. That way, you put the bike up, you want to stand in front of the rim, give that thing a spin, make sure it moves freely, and make sure it's not wobbling all over the place from a bent rim. Another thing too, you know, give the wheel a wiggle. Make sure your wheel bearings are good, no play in those. And of course, same with the back rim. Get it up, give it a jiggle side to side, give it a spin, watch that wheel as it spins and see how it's going. Make sure the bearings are free and make sure that wheel's not wobbling. Okay, of course, now airbox. Some guys might not want you to look in there. If I'm selling a bike, I always have the airbox off so the people can look in the airbox, see the airbox is clean, and see that the filter is good. So you want to check that. Check the drain plug. A lot of bikes, the oil drain plug on the bottom. I've looked at several bikes over the years, had buddies that bought them. They don't pay attention to that drain plug. And when they get it home and go to drain the oil the first time, there's JB weld around it, or there's they take it out. It's hard to tell if somebody has the threads jacked up, but look at that plug. And what you want to do is, even if that bike looks super clean, what you want to do, make sure when you're looking at the bike over, have a clean paper towel with you, because what a lot of guys will do is they will change the oil right before they sell it. And the oil is very clean and hard to see if it's leaking somewhere. So have yourself a clean paper towel, go around that drain plug, especially after you take the bike for a ride, wipe it around and make sure that thing is not leaking, because if it's leaking, there could definitely be a problem with the threads. And you want to look at all the bolts and screws, you know, make sure these aren't spun out. Look on like the head of the motor and make sure the bolts don't have any wear from a wrench being on them or being spun to see if the bike was torn apart. You want to check anything like that. Of course, you want to look for leaks around your counter shaft down here, where your shift shaft goes in. I'm going to see what else I have written here. Check your brake pads. Of course, check the sprockets too. Check your sprockets for wear. This is basically brand new, so there's nothing worn out. Usually the teeth will all be pointed in one direction if they're worn out. You can check the chain, see how it is. This chain is actually a little tight. Okay. Another thing too, you won't be able to, you know, look under the side covers. Now I will, if I'm selling something, I will have the seat off so the folks can look at the battery and see how clean it is underneath the seat. You may want to take a wrench and say, hey, do you mind if I pop the seat off? You know, look for anything cracked. Your subframes, frame. Another thing too, look at these frames in the engine cases. If they are severely worn off or, you know, have wear marks from boots, you know the bike's been ridden pretty hard. This bike is 9 years old now with 4,200 miles on it. And of course, I've had these covers on for the last 5 years. But you can see 5 years of riding on this bike that has never been painted. That's how it looks. Okay, you can go around, check your spokes. You want to look down at your brake caliper. Whoa, I'm zooming that in. Sorry about that. Yeah, look at the brake pads, make sure the brake pads are good and you got brakes. check everything out good over the motor. You know, like I said, you can take, if you think maybe a spot's wet on that bike, just take the paper towel, you know, go like that, and you will see. Now, I had just changed the oil on this here over the winter, but you can see, you'll see stuff like that. If it's got a little bit of a leak, even though that oil is clean, you know, you'll see a mark on that towel. And like I said, check these bolts, you know, see if there's any marks where you can see wrenches were on. You want to look up in the radiator here. Now you can see on this radiator, it does have a little bend in it from when I dropped the bike over, but look at stuff like that. And when you warm the bike up, look for anywhere that anything could be seeping out of here. Check the shock. See if any oil is on the shock shaft. Maybe the seals are leaking. Of course, on this bike, on the DRZs, you will have the shock boots on. You won't be able to check the fork seals unless you take the clamp loose and the fellow lets you pull it up. Inverted forks, do the same thing with the paper towel, because if they got clean oil in them, you won't see it leaking much, but wipe it around the back and all around it. Make sure nothing comes off on that towel. Here I am. I'm crumbling up my checklist. Okay, another thing you want to do, if you're looking at a dual sport, of course, turn your key on, check lights, run through all the lights, you know, make sure you got turn signals, high beam, low beam, hit the brakes, make sure the license plate light is working, all that good to go so you have no wiring issues. Beep the horn, you know, make sure that works. Make sure everything on your dash is operating. You see the, you know, the turn signal indicator there. Make sure that stuff like that is working. So you're good to go. You know, throttle tube. Of course, if you take it for a test ride, you'll know that. Make sure that's working clean and clear. Okay, I'm going to see what else I have here. Let you stare at the bike for a second. Another thing too, when you start it up, make sure there's no smoke on initial startup, or when you get done and you get off of it, if they let you take it for a ride, give it a couple revs. Make sure, you know, you don't see any smoke. But one of the main things is, look, you know, up under the tank and under the bottoms, because sometimes guys will even have a bike clean, but when you look up under everything, there can be globs of mud and all kind of goo caked up underneath there because they had it in hardcore mud, and which is okay, but you want to clean it and maintain it. But you can tell by a bike, like this bike here. This thing is a 2013. It is 2022. This bike is super clean. I'm not going to have any issue. The thing is, when you get a bike and take care of it, you keep it clean, you have no issue. When I list any bike, the first person that comes and looks at that bike, it is gone. Because they get tired of looking at garbage on Craigslist and on Marketplace that people just beat the snot out of. So that's what you want to do. Keep your bikes clean. But I hope I went over everything to kind of make you even when it's up on the stand too. I'm thinking of stuff as I go here, but that swing arm, grab a hold of that whole back wheel assembly and make sure that there's no play in that swing arm. Same with like your steering head bearings here. Those you can also tell if you have the bike down off of the stand. If you're sitting on it, push it forward quick and hit the brake. If you feel any like clunking up in the front there, you know there's some problem with the steering stem bearings. So I hope I kind of went over everything here for you to look at so that it makes your used bike buying experience a little bit easier. Like I said though, as many times as I bought a used bike and had my little cheat sheet, I still 90% of the time come home and I will see some small thing on that bike that I forgot to look at and didn't check, and it's something that I got to fix, albeit, you know, minor a lot of the times. But another thing too, on a carbureted bike, let the gas on. If they turn it on and start it, let that gas on while the bike is sitting there on the kickstand, and maybe while you're talking to them about the bike, and make sure it doesn't leak, because then you have a problem with the carburetor and the float bowl or something like that. So that's another thing to check. If you have any questions or comments about your bike buying, put them down below. I will get back to you. Thanks to all you guys for watching. Thank you, military and law enforcement. I appreciate what you do. Like, subscribe, get on your bike, get outside.